Jaxson Robinson has a huge decision coming up, and it's going to be big for the Cats. That's going to be the conversation on today's episode of the Wildcats Today podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak, writer and editor over at Wildcats Today, joined as always by my co-host, Carson Nash. Carson, it was a hectic weekend. We got after it. How we feeling? How we doing? How was work? How'd everything go?
Well, I'm glad it's Tuesday and not Monday. Memorial Day weekend was pretty awesome. We supported our troops in the right fashion.
Yeah.
Couple cold snacks. Think they would respect that.
Yeah, no question. Thank you to everyone who has served. No question there. Shout out Cade Hilt. Have to throw one out to him. Did us a couple favors. He was the bartender for the weekend. Really cool, really good. I see it in his future. Shout out Cade Hilt. Now, getting right on into this, Carson, I think the first thing we need to say is we are Chaz Lanier commits to Tennessee. He's gone. That is really, really unfortunate. I mean, all around, I'm sorry, young man. Poor decision. But poor decision. But no, hated losing Lanier. Well, you and I both really liked him. But you and I also both said on this show when we talked about Lanier, hey, if he goes to Tennessee, how do we feel about Jaxson Robinson? And we both basically said it's one way or the other. I'd rather have this guy 51% 49 or this guy 51% 49. There's not this huge gap of margin between them, in my opinion. They're both great, but you can even argue, that Robinson's played at a higher level, did it at a higher level of college basketball. Sometimes we see that. We see these, 19 points a game at so-and-so small school. It's like, that's great. And then you're like, ooh, okay, well, he's not as, you see it happen in a positive way and the negative way with that stuff. So, Carson, here's my question for you. Jaxson Robinson, by tomorrow night, the 29th, about 11:59, not 11:59:01, 11:59, has to decide if he is going to stay or exit the NBA draft. Carson Nash, put on your crystal ball. How do we feel? What's going to happen?
This is going to be a complete guess because I haven't heard much of his thought process or his decision. I will say this, that this is one thing for sure. If he does pull out, I think Kentucky is the landing spot.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say that he does pull out of the draft. Yeah. I think there's a lot of upside for him to come back and play under Pope again and be the star at the biggest school in the country, to get his name projected a little higher on those draft boards for the following season. So I would guess and say that he pulls out and he's going to be a Kentucky Wildcat next season.
I agree with you. I do agree with you. And here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. And once again, I'm not going to sit here and say anything set in stone, but man, it feels pretty close that if he does pull out of the draft, he's going to play for Kentucky. I mean, you've seen a lot of people very confidently state that. Multiple different publications all over the place have said, hey, if Robinson pulls his name out of the draft, I think he's going to play for Coach Pope at Kentucky. And, I'll tell you, I think he's going to pull out of the draft. We've all seen this enough in the NBA. If you're a guy that doesn't get drafted in the first round, your chances, of becoming an actual legitimate dude in the NBA are so minuscule. It's just reality. Yes, there are cases where it happens. If Jaxson Robinson gets drafted 47th, he'll be in the G League, playing in, Hungary, Turkey, like somewhere down the road. He's going to be playing Spain, wherever. He's going to be playing overseas somewhere. More times than not. 9 times out of 10, that's what happens. Yes, there's the success stories. It happens. But I'm always a big believer, dude, come be the star. Come get the NIL money. Make a deal with all these companies. Get your millions and millions and millions of dollars, and then do that next year. Come have the time of your life. I'll have to give him a phone call. Say, hey, Jaxson, let's talk with this. Hear me out.
Get him on the line.
Get him on the line. But that's my take on this, Carson. I think he'd be making the wrong decision if he stayed in the draft, because here's the deal. I don't believe he'll get drafted. I've seen him on one mock draft. It was like about 2 weeks ago. And then every mock draft since then, I've not seen his name listed. I don't think he gets drafted. And then, okay, you sign with the G League team. You know what I mean? There's just no – come to Kentucky. Come try and be Dalton Connect. Come here, try and be that special player that transfers in, as an older player, because that's the issue is he's an older guy. The NBA does not like older players. So, I mean, Carson, what are your thoughts on his decision process? If you're in his shoes, what are you thinking right now?
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at that, right? So the mock drafts, it was a couple weeks ago when he was 47. Now you don't really see him in any of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think Pope and him have a really good relationship.
Yes.
Because Pope went down to the G League camps that he was at and watched him play in those too.
Yeah.
And there's articles out about how Jaxson felt and what he said. And he loved that from Pope. And I think they really are close. And so I think his decision process will ultimately come down to, does he really want to go the G League route, or does he trust that Pope can make him either a higher second round pick or even a first round pick if he really does blow up? And so that's where I think this falls for him.
Yeah, I'm with you. And once again, we are not far from this decision. It has to be by tomorrow night. If I had to guess, in all honesty, I think there's a chance you hear something tonight. And here's the deal. I think that news of if he pulls out of the draft, I think he'll be committed within a day. I don't think there's going to be a long, drawn-out process there. I could be wrong, but that's just kind of the vibe I've gotten based on everything everyone is saying about his recruitment and the way this all is going to work. So, I mean, what are your thoughts as a player role-wise for Jaxson Robinson, Carson?
Yeah, I mean, I'd honestly come in and I see him being the Antonio Reeves role that we had last year. I think that he's a taller wing guard that can also handle the ball pretty well. I think he slides right into that role. Honestly, he reminds me a lot. After I watch a little bit of tape of him, he reminds me a lot of Antonio Reeves.
Yeah.
So I think he would slide right into that role, and he's going to be a star here if he comes back. I'll tell you that. Yeah. I think his 14 points or whatever at BYU. I mean, he was coming off the bench, so I think he could jump. I think he could jump to like a 17, 18 point scorer per game.
Yeah, I mean, if he really does starting, I think you're going to see him have a monster, season at Kentucky. And that, oh man, we're going to have a great time debating that. Who's going to start? Because we'll do that when this roster's finalized. We'll get into the real off-season stuff, the breaking down. Who's going to start? What are minutes going to look like? What roles? We'll get into that. And man, if you get Robinson, that's going to make that conversation significantly more difficult to have. So I'm excited about it. But once again, I mean, it sounds like there's not much like insider crystal ball. He pulls his name out of the draft. Like, I haven't seen any of that. It's like, well, if he pulls his name out of the draft, he's coming to Kentucky, but no one really knows. I mean, this is a waiting game. And good news, BBN, we don't got to wait much longer to find out. So, we'll do a show regardless of what happens. If he pulls out of the draft, if he stays in the draft, we'll kind of do what it means when we get that news. But so, Carson, I've got another question for you. And it's about Wuga Popper, the transfer from Miami. We saw him play last year in Rupp Arena. Had a really solid game. What are your thoughts? Is he a take? Is he only if you swing and miss on Robinson, which I don't think it'd be a swing and miss. I think it'd be if he stays in the draft. But if Robinson stays in the draft, do you only take Poplar if he stays in the draft, or are you pursuing him regardless? What are your thoughts on that conversation?
I honestly, we have 2 scholarships left. I would pursue him regardless of the Jaxson Robinson decision, because worst case scenario, if you don't get Jaxson, you'll get Wuga. Yeah. And best case scenario is you get both.
Yeah.
And then you get both, and you figure out the roster construction when you get there. Figure out the playing time and all that. Because I think Wuga is a very high caliber basketball player.
Yeah.
He was on the team when Miami went to what did they go to? The Final Four?
Elite Eight or Final? I think it was Elite Eight.
Was it Elite Eight?
I think it was. Yeah. I don't. It was Elite Eight or Final Four, but I think it was Elite Eight. But
yeah. Needless to say, he was a big role on that team. So I think he's a really good player. And I would love to have him. And and here's another thing. If Jaxson does stay in the draft, I think you could go towards like a Wuga and a reclass route. I've heard a little bit of chatter about Will Riley in the class below. So you may see him too. You may see him transition into something like that. But it really at this point it depends on Jaxson Robinson.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, it's like I feel like we're at a stopping point until then. It's until we get word on Jaxson Robinson, there's really not much we can say or do about it. Like, I think that they have to see what happens here before they make their next move when it comes to this coaching staff. So that's going to be real. I mean, this is really interesting. If I had to put a percentage, and once again, if I had to put a percentage, I think there's a 60% chance he pulls out of the draft. That'd be my number. Carson, would you say higher or lower on that, or around the same?
I would put mine. I think he pulls out. I'd say I'm gonna go 75-25. I think that's where I'm at right now.
I'm not upset about that at all. I don't disagree with that at all. I hate silence, and silence concerns me, and that's what, you know what I mean. That's what we've got right now. So it's funny. I keep checking Twitter as we're like doing this. I'm thinking like, man,
no, I know. Yeah.
Mid-recording.
I have my noties on just in case, because I feel like we're going to get another Wildcats breaking news.
Yeah. But so that's really our thoughts on Jaxson Robinson. I mean, let us know in the comments what y'all think about it. Last conversation here, Carson, and not really a surprise, but Andrew Carr, Amari Williams, and Lamont Butler pull their name out of the NBA draft. They are officially Cats, which is exciting. There was no concern there, but that's exciting. And I'll tell you, not to get super, super sidetracked, but man, I really like Andrew Carr. Not that I don't like Amari Williams, and not that I don't like Lamont Butler, because I think what they're going to do on defense. I just think Andrew Carr. I wrote an article and I got a lot of laughing emojis, a lot of people like, I don't know, a bit of a stretch. I'm telling you, I think Andrew Carr is going to be the surprising, 17 a game from this kid. Like, I think he's going to be a star. I think he's such a mismatch with his ability to dribble the ball, his ability to shoot the ball, pass, score around the rim. I mean, the dude is lights out from three. Lights out from three. I mean, are you as stoked about him as me?
Yeah, you remember on the pod a while back when we predicted that starting lineup, I said Andrew Carr first team All SEC this year. I think Andrew Carr is my guy. I think he's going to be a superstar.
He's just so dang good at basketball. I mean, he can shoot, he can dribble, he can pass, he blocks some shots. He does everything. He's a big guy. He's a guy I think could work his way into an NBA draft if he gives you 17 a game, shooting like 38% from deep. I mean, really,
I agree.
Guy. I'm really excited about him. So, not like I said, there were no concerns there.
Pope also said that he wants him in a Lauri Markkanen role. Yeah, I don't know if the ball knowers out there will know who Lauri Markkanen is.
I know who Lauri Markkanen is. He's on the Jazz.
Yeah. But
are you implying that I did not know who Lauri Markkanen? You were 100% implying I had no idea who Lauri Markkanen was. You know what team he was on before the Jazz?
That excites me a lot.
Science guy?
That excites me a lot because I feel
nope, doesn't know.
I feel like no, he's on the Bulls. I'm pretty sure
he was on the. Oh my. He was on the Bulls. Now he's on the Jazz.
It doesn't matter what team he plays for. It doesn't matter what team he plays for.
No.
It doesn't matter as long as you know who he is. That NBA is just meaningless.
Where's he from? I'm kidding.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
Arizona.
No, I don't even think he went to college. I think he's from Finland. So let's just pipe down now. Let's pipe down now. Okay.
All right. You watch NBA more than I do. But
I do. That is true.
No, but that excites me because at Wake he didn't have the green light as much as he will here. So I think his numbers will increase just based on more shots for him, more opportunities, and that really excites me because I think he can grow into that role and be that guy that kind of. I could see him like running our offense at the top of the key off those pick and pops, and I don't know. I'm really excited for him. Leave in the comments who y'all think your player is going to be that's going to break out.
Yeah, because everybody that's what's fun about this. By the way, you were right about Arizona, but you didn't know he was from Finland, which I think that's way smarter than knowing he went to Arizona. But
I'm a college ball knower.
Whatever. So yeah, let us know that in the comments. I think that's a really fun debate to have. Like you and I, Carson, have had conversations with lots of people saying, "Oh, it's going to be Otega Owe. It's going to be Kirk Creasha. It's going to be Andrew Carr." I mean, seriously, like everybody's got their guy, just part of, and that's what's so fun about the portal. Everybody has their guy in the portal that gets them excited. So let us know in the comments who's yours. So Carson, any other thoughts before we call it a day?
That's all I got.
Perfect. Well, listen, keep hitting that subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting closer and closer to a giant slip and slide. 2K, that's the goal. 2K. Carson Nash, we're going to see you at Railbird this weekend. Any commitments you want to make? Anything crazy? I mean, any comments?
No, I'm pretty excited though. It's gonna be a good long day. I'm excited. Who are you most excited to go see?
I'm excited to see Flatland Calvert.
You took mine, so I'm gonna have to go somewhere different. The Red Clay Strays, they're getting me a little excited.
You were talking about them yesterday. I haven't really listened to them much.
I'm not gonna go and pick Stapleton or Noah Khan because of course most people know who they are. But just a couple smaller bands that y'all should go listen to.
And shout out Counting Crows. My mom loves them. Also, shout out Gigi. I got a haircut. Love you. There you go. So that's going to do it for today's episode. The plan, more than likely, we're going to hear the news, at some point tomorrow. We'll either get like a breaking news when Robinson, if he does it tonight or tomorrow in the afternoon, we'll try and get you one up tomorrow. If he does it later in the evening on Wednesday night, we'll toss you a show on Thursday. So we will keep you updated on that. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Hope everybody has an outstanding rest of their day today, and we will see you next time.